Welcome back to another week here on Instigating with Clarkie and Drury. Ryan Drury, Clarkie, joined by our favorite golf expert and golf player. Yes, Ian Doig on the line. Doigy, before we dig into the U.S. Open, which, let's be honest, we don't need to dig into it much. We'll get to our picks and all that in a second. It was an awful tournament, in my opinion. Easily the worst golf tournament I've watched in a couple of years. But you were busy this week, were you not?
Yeah, I was on Monday and Tuesday. I had a little something to play in myself.
You were playing.
I just want to talk. I want to say something here before you go on here, because last week it was 10 minutes before I got to say anything. So, Doigy, you were in Listowel. You were playing in a tournament. So walk us through it. I got to walk with you for a few holes and watch you play. But walk us through it. What was the event, and how did it go?
Okay, well, first of all, I want to thank you and Ryan for coming out and supporting me while I was playing. It was very nice to have a small gallery chasing me around. I didn't expect one in Listowel, Ontario, to be honest with you.
We had to fight through the crowd, but we got in okay.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. It was the PGA of Ontario Senior Championship. I've been fortunate that I've won it a couple times in the past, and this was the first time I had played in it in about 6 years. So tournament was Monday, Tuesday.
And I just want to interrupt. I watched your first 9 on Monday, and man, you were hitting every green. Like you were playing well.
I did. I both days actually I played extremely well tee to green. Round 1, I hit 17 greens in regulation. The longest shot I had from the flag was 22 feet. So, I had 17 putts at birdie, and unfortunately I only made 2 of them. One was a 2-putt birdie and one was about an 8-9 footer that I made. And I shot 2 under par with 34 putts, which is atrocious in round 1. And I came in, I finished second in the super senior division, which is a 1-day event, to Keir Smith, who shot 69. And then we played again on Tuesday. Tuesday was extremely hard. They lengthened the golf course by a couple hundred yards. It played much more difficult with high winds, in the neighborhood of 45 clicks all day long. And again, I played extremely well. I hit 14 greens in regulation. I had 33 putts in day 2 and shot an even par 72. Nobody else shot par. I was the low round of the day. Unfortunately, I came up 1 shot short. I finished second. To Danny King, and Danny leaves this weekend to play in the U.S. Senior Open, so he's on a bit of a roll right now and playing well. But I played very, very well tee to green. My putting let me down, and I think about it, 67 putts over 2 days. I mean, I should be around 60. So if I had putted well, I would have ran away with it.
What do you attribute it to? Like, I know putting is such a hard thing to gauge, but well, you've changed your stroke over the years. You've probably changed your putter over the years. Can you pinpoint anything that you want to work on?
Yeah. So I actually was fortunate. I played both rounds with John Cochran, who's a pretty good teacher. He teaches out at Piper's Heath here in Canada and down in Florida.
Boy, he can hit a golf ball.
Yeah, can he ever? For 62 years old, he hits it over 300 still. He's a big, strong guy. But he and I chatted a little bit after the rounds. He took me aside. He showed me a couple of things, and he just thinks that my hands were fighting with each other. They weren't on the putter grip correctly. And my left hand wanted to do one thing. My right hand wanted to do something else. And so they were fighting with each other. So the ball was never coming off on my intended target. So I've spent quite a few hours in the last 2 days already on the putting green working on getting my hands in a better position. I must admit, it feels very uncomfortable. So now I know what it feels like when somebody comes to me and I change their grip in the golf club. It's not fun at all, but I'm sticking with it. And I actually feel pretty confident that I'm going in the right direction now. I've asked others for help over the years, and he's the first one that has pointed out my hand positioning. So I've changed it. I'm going to take what he says. I'm going to give it a chance. I'll work really hard on it. It feels better already, but I won't know until I get in a tournament where I have to use it under the gun. So that'll be in another month or so.
Do you crosshand?
I have cross-handed. When I played in the U.S. Open a couple years ago, I was using crosshand. But then again, that went sour after a while too. You know what? look, we're always searching.
Yeah.
I've been searching for 60 years now to how to get better, and I'll keep searching.
Maybe you should use my putter.
That's not going to happen.
Because you could do cross-handed and do it left-handed.
Yeah, not going to happen.
You've seen my putter; it works pretty well.
That's okay, Clarky. We'll leave that for another day.
No, but he was hitting Ryan. You saw a few holes too. He was hitting the ball well. There's no question.
I got to catch the end of his first round, and I was very impressed. And yeah, Doigy, I mean, putting, it's a fickle mistress, isn't it? And I mean, yeah, if you can even improve it a little bit, I mean, you're playing so well, and congrats to you, obviously, to, second place. It's nothing to sniff at, especially after not playing for a good while, right? And it's a tournament that you've dominated before, and to show back up and finish second, I'm pretty impressed by that. I know you're not satisfied because you could have won, but that's pretty damn good.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I didn't know what to expect. And it's the first tournament, really. I mean, I did a qualifier earlier this year, but that's a 1-round, 18-hole shootout thing. And I wasn't back to my strength in that. I'm starting to get stronger again. I'm starting to see my distance come back. I've been working out hard, hitting balls and doing all that. It's starting to feel very good. I'm pleased with where it is. I look at certain shots during the round. In round 2, on the 8th hole, I had 206 yards to the flag, par 5, going for it in 2, into the wind, and I hit a 4-iron that never left the flag and finished 12 feet from the hole. And for me, when I can take out my 4-iron and rip it into 206 yards and hit it that far into the wind and be that close to the hole, that's when I know my speed and my strength is starting to come back. And I was pleased with that. Unfortunately, I 2-putted from the 12 feet and didn't make it, but that's part of it. I didn't make a lot of birdies, I guess 5 in total, and 2 of them were 2-putt birdies on par 5s. So, not a lot of 1-putts.
And you had no idea, right? Like there's not like a big scoreboard hanging around to know how Danny King was doing, right?
Yeah. So I had a feeling the golf course was playing very, very difficult in round 2. And I knew I was 1 under through 17 holes. I bogeyed my last hole, which leaves a bit of a sour taste in your mouth. But you know what? I played well, and that's all I can do. And you know what? Would I like to have made more putts? Sure, I would have. But I'm taking a lot of positives out of it, and I'm ready to move forward and get ready for the next event. So yeah, I feel good.
And I know, like you hadn't planned on a lot of events this summer. Does this give you more of a little itch? Like, hey, I think I want to compete a little more. Yes and no. Yeah.
I think part of it is that, you know what, I've kind of got it in the back of my head now that, you know what, I'm not going to make my living anymore playing golf. I'm going to teach golf. And if I can pick up, a few thousand here and there playing and, maybe save enough to take a trip with Kathleen in the fall or something like that.
Yeah.
I would like to go play in a couple of other events that the Canadian PGA puts on, but unfortunately the purses are at such a level that it's not conducive for the travel. So the senior championship for Canada is in Abbotsford, BC, but the expense to go out there and play in it, if I don't finish in the top 3 or 4, I lose money. And that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
And then
want to just do a vacation.
I've had enough vacations in my life.
Exactly.
I don't. My goal is to go there and compete and make money. And then the Club Pro Championships in Mexico in November. And it sounds like it would be a great trip and everything. But again, do I want to spend $3,000 to go down? If I don't finish in the top 6, I lose money. Right. And so, do I think I can finish in the top 6 or in the top 3? Sure. I feel like I can do that. But you have one day where you don't putt great or whatever, you hit a couple bad shots and it's over, right? And then you're losing money. So I hate losing money.
Yeah, it's no fun
first.
For sure.
What do they say, Ryan? He ain't first.
No, we're not saying that. We're not saying that to our friend Doigy. That's disrespectful.
I agree.
Doigy let us come out and watch. We were sitting in the peanut gallery, and it was a lot of fun to watch.
But here's the other thing before you go. Like Danny King, you said, is going to the U.S. Senior Open. Is that where he's
Senior
going?
Open, yeah, this week.
And you lost out to him by one stroke.
Yeah.
Like you lost by one stroke. So how does he get to go?
Flies up to Wisconsin. He'll probably fly up Saturday.
Just working.
Right.
So how does he get to go and you and like How does that happen?
How
did he qualify? How did he qualify?
So he was at this. Remember, I said earlier I went to a qualifier in Michigan. He was at the same qualifier.
Oh, okay.
So there was 84 players for 2 spots, and Danny King and Alan McLean from London, Ontario, got the 2 spots. So 2 Canadians are going to play in it. So
okay, there you go.
Yeah. Well, so remember in 2018, I played in it in the Broadmoor in Colorado. Same way, I qualified through a qualifier. So yeah.
There you go. Good. Well, I think the way you played this week, Doigy, I think that you could qualify for just about whatever event you want on the senior tour. I thought you played really well, and it was a lot of fun. And this summer, we're going to have to go out and have a round, and I'd like to watch you play a full 18. I only got to watch you play a couple holes, but I was very, very impressed. So congrats to you. I wouldn't hang your head too much. I know that there are a few pros on the PGA Tour that are probably hanging their head after what happened at the US Open, which was, I mean, we mentioned off the top, Doigy was extremely lackluster in terms of fanfare. It felt muted. A bunch of the members out there at LA Country Club bought up a bunch of tickets so people couldn't go. It felt dead. What a contrast to a week prior at the Canadian Open, where you had wild, rabid Canadian fans, Nick Taylor doing what he did. It just felt, it didn't feel like a PGA event. It was weird. And then you start the tournament with 2 guys setting a record. The course played unbelievably, I don't want to say easy, but there were a lot of low scores. Xander Schauffele and my guy Ricky Fowler both shooting 8 under to set a new record at a US Open first round. And then it continues on. They move the pins around. Wyndham Clark, congrats to him, of course, comes out and wins at 10 under. What was your impression of the way the course played on that opening day and for the rest of the tournament, and just your feeling toward the tournament overall? It felt lackluster to me, Doigy.
Yeah, I fully agree. I actually caught a lot of flack on Facebook because I actually put a post in there asking the people, my friends out there, to tell me when the US Open was being played, because when the first round started, it felt like I was watching the John Deere Classic with the scores being so low and everything, and it just didn't feel like a US Open. I mean, I've been very fortunate to be at a number of US Opens, and the fairways are typically 18 to 22 yards wide. Well, there was a couple fairways last week where the fairway was 61 yards wide. So just that in itself, it didn't feel like a US Open. And then the low scores early on. Now, did it get exciting on Sunday? Sure it did. I mean, you had Rory in the hunt again, trying to get that major, first one in almost 10 years and so on. And Wyndham Clark played extremely well. So Sunday was a little more exciting, but to me, it just never felt like a US Open, in my opinion. And I'm going to stick with that opinion. That's what it is. It just didn't feel like a US Open to me. But congrats to Wyndham Clark. I mean, I thought he played a great tournament. And funny enough, I have him on one of my teams. So my team did really well in the pool last week.
Do you think the USGA, who are they the ones that govern that?
Yes.
Do you think they were embarrassed?
I wouldn't say embarrassed.
Concerned,
but I think
maybe.
They'd be concerned. Exactly.
Yeah.
There's already talk about them going back to that venue in a number of years. But I think they'll rethink that. They'll be very concerned over how it played, as well as this whole thing about the members buying up the tickets so that the crowds weren't that big and everything. And it took away from it. It didn't seem to me, both like cheer wise, the noise and everything, it just wasn't there, it seemed like to me. And it just didn't feel right. It wasn't a US Open in my mind.
Yeah, it was weird. Beautiful course, like not taking away from the course. I would not prefer to see a US Open there again. That's just my opinion. I think there are other courses, if they want to do it in California, that would better suit it and make it a challenge, which we are accustomed to seeing. We're accustomed to seeing challenging courses that really push these guys' limits. One more major to go, obviously the Open overseas, and you can guarantee we'll be doing picks for that. And Doigy, I know that you're upset. You came second in the seniors tournament this week, but you did finish first in one thing, and that was our picks again. That's back-to-back wins for Doigy. As we get a look at it here, look at that. I'm way back there. I finished last again, but Doigy way down there at 15 under. You got an awful lot out of Rory and Tommy Fleetwood. Clarkie right there, just 7 strokes back.
A good round, yeah, like not bad.
I'm way back there. I did not have Scotty carried my mail, and I did not get a very good showing at a Victor Hovland. I was disappointed with that. But all of the first overall pick for the Open, I already know who I'm going to take. I'm not going to announce it here, but I already know who I'm going to take. Doigy, you're just before we wrap up here with you, your thoughts on that, specifically Rory. I mean, are you starting to get nervous that this guy might never win another major? And do you think if he doesn't, it will affect his legacy at all?
No, not at all. First of all, he's not going to go the rest of his career without winning another major. He's just too good.
Okay.
Yeah, I
hope so.
He really is that good. I would not be surprised to see it be the Open Championship in July. I like his chances there. A couple of things that I picked up this week was, to me, he looked a little more focused than he did at the Masters. I thought that he's gearing towards playing better. The one thing I kind of took away, when he lost the tournament at Muirfield, at Jack's tournament, Jack said to him, Roy, you and I need to talk. And I know that Nicklaus had always talked about his major wins, and he says that he won a majority of them by being patient down the stretch and letting the other guys make the mistakes. And when I look at Rory's final round, that's what it looked like Rory was doing, was he was playing very patient, expecting somebody to falter, Wyndham to falter coming in. But because the fairways were so wide, it wasn't a typical US Open, so it was harder to falter coming in. I think if those fairways had been 22 yards wide, it would have been a lot more difficult for Wyndham Clark to close the deal, because he would have been hitting it in the rough. And then Rory, just making par all day long, could have backed into it, right? So I see Rory winning another major for sure.
Well, I want to congratulate you on your first place finish, but at the same time, I want to propose a rule tweak to
quickly do this. You're pushing our limits here, Clarkie.
No, it's not pushing the limits. Doigy admits
I mean the clock.
There needs to be some sort of reward if you pick the winner. Okay. And we're not going to the money route, because then if you pick the winner, you're automatically going to win the way it's set up. But here's the deal. If you pick the winner, and Doigy and I discussed this, and you might have been in on it too, Ryan, but
I was there.
This makes it official if we do it on the air. Okay. If you pick the winner, you automatically get another -5.
I'm fine with it.
I like that. I think it's a fair way of doing it.
A bonus.
Right? Yeah, it's a bonus. So you get an extra -5 on your score.
So having said that, I've now won the Canadian Open.
No.
No, I know.
No.
But moving forward, that's the way we're going to do it. Also, I don't know
like
if you guys noticed the mansion off the 4th hole at the golf.
Lionel Richie's
house.
I knew that you had to mention.
I'm embarrassed I didn't know this beforehand. But he's touring in Europe right now, and or he would have invited me over. But
I assumed you were going to house sit for him.
I was going to, but
yeah,
I didn't know he was in Europe. Well, I knew he was in Europe, but I didn't know that house overlooked the golf course. Anyway,
I thought you were going to host sit at the Playboy Mansion, because it's just off one of the other fairways.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah, the 14th, I believe. Yes,
that's correct.
Yeah, Lionel. I'm surprised you weren't house sitting
honestly,
for him.
I know it's weird, but I'd rather go to Lionel's house.
Right. Yeah. Well, it turns out you were not who he was looking for. So
hello, no. I'm right here.
You were not who he was looking for, Clarkie. Doigy, it was a blast to watch you play. We're going to do it again very soon this summer. We got to get together and I'll watch you coach Clarkie through a round. I don't want to hear about the ice cream.
Perfect.
Don't bother. I don't want to hear about the ice cream.
We're playing again for ice cream. It's a thing now. Yeah.
Fair enough. I will be there to judge any, funny business that potentially goes
There's
on.
No funny business.
I'll be looking for some Patrick Reed behavior.
Doigy saw every stroke I made.
Yes,
so
I need to see to believe.
Oh, yeah.
Doigy,
You're the rules guy.
Doigy, I'm the staunch rules guy. Doigy, we appreciate it as always.
That sounds good. I look forward to it. Again, thank you two for coming out to watch the other day. And Clarky, thanks for the hospitality at your place on Monday night. The burgers were great. The beer was cold, and the hot tub was fun. And yeah, it was a good evening, and I enjoyed it. We'll do it again.
You're welcome. Anytime.
Absolutely.
Tango Creek next time, right?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
We're going to go up there.
Sounds good to me.
Good.
All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, I got to sit down earlier this week with a very special guest, our buddy Jonny Lazarus of the NHL Network, Bleacher Report, Open Ice, the hockey news covering his hometown New York Rangers. He's coming up next on covering the Stanley Cup Final live in Florida and Vegas and the New York sports scene and what it's like being a Rangers fan. He's still got hope they could do it next year, just like Clarky's Leafs. We'll see what Jonny thinks next here on Instigating. Welcome back to Instigating with Clarky and Drury. Ryan Drury still here with you. We're very pleased to be joined by this next guest. We've been trying to get him on for a while, but he's one of the busiest men in hockey broadcasting. Jonny Lazarus, host and analyst for the NHL Network, does content creation for Bleacher Report, Open Ice, covers his hometown New York Rangers for the hockey news. We love the hockey news up here, and Blue Crew Pod, which he hosts. Check out the Blue Crew Pod. And he's also a color commentator for UMass Hockey. My goodness, Mr. Lazarus, that is a lengthy resume, sir. I don't know how you fit it all on your Twitter profile. How the heck are you?
I'm just trying to be a LinkedIn influencer out here, with all those jobs, but I'm good. I'm, recovering still from Vegas. So if I have the crack in my voice, I apologize ahead of time, but yeah, man, life's good, right? Like, can't be bad covering the Cup Final in Florida and Vegas. So, yeah, it's been good.
Absolutely. Well, dude, I watched you on NHL Network. You were working with one of my favorites, obviously, Alexa Landestoy. She's great. She does, obviously, Capitals coverage, which I love. Let's start there, though, obviously. The Cup Final. Did the playoffs kind of shake out the way you thought? I mean, I know you wanted your Rangers to perform a little better than they ended up doing, but they still have a bright future, I think, with all those young guys. But the way that this all shook out, this was one of the crazier playoffs that I can remember in recent memory. The storylines, the upsets, the wild run by Florida, which ended like a lot of Cinderella runs do with no glass slipper at the end. But how did it shake out? Did you see Vegas and Florida having an opportunity to get to the final? And what was it like covering it?
I don't think anyone could have guessed that final, right? I mean, like, these are two teams that, Florida shouldn't have come as such a surprise because how good they were last year, but their second round exit was so ugly that you didn't really give them a chance this year with also how poorly they performed in the regular season. Vegas was a bit different. Vegas was a pretty good team all year long, but last year they missed the playoffs. So, kind of a weird bounce back year, right? Like, rarely do you see a team go on and win the cup after a year where they have such a disappointment and make a new hiring in their head coach, Bruce Cassidy, coming in to take over, after a really strong, few years up in Boston. But, these are two teams that got hot at the right time. And I think that's the biggest thing in hockey, right? Like, you don't have to be the best team all year long. We saw with the Bruins, they were unbelievable this year. And, when the going gets tough, Florida was just the tougher team. And I think that's something that's so important in hockey. And, I know we'll probably go into the Rangers a little bit, but today was Peter Laviolette's press conference. He's the new head coach. He came from Washington, so I'm sure we'll get into that. And, the first thing he said was, when you watch the conference final and the Stanley Cup final, you can have all the skill in the world, but the compete is everything in this game. And that hasn't changed in the last 30 years, right? Teams that compete the hardest are the teams that win. So Vegas was the hardest competing team, I thought, in the playoffs. And, they showed it, and they didn't need the best goaltending, even though Aiden Hill was phenomenal in net for them. They had their fourth string goalie in net to win the Stanley Cup final. When has that ever happened? And, great final, great playoff. I mean, there were some rounds that were a little bit less exciting than others, but super unpredictable. And it goes to show just how much parity is in this league, because I don't think anyone would have guessed that it would have been the conference final and then final that we saw.
I completely agree. And I mean, Vegas, they just got on a roll. You kind of had that feeling about them once they put Edmonton out in a really back and forth series. You kind of felt like they were maybe not going to be able to be stopped. And ultimately they weren't, winning the Cup final in 5 games. I want your opinion on Vegas because, you know, especially as a fan of a team in a very, very traditional hockey market, the New York Rangers are as big as it gets. What is your opinion of the whole Vegas thing? Like, I see a lot of people making a lot of noise again, and I think it's kind of sore loserism, in my opinion, about, the expansion draft was too favorable to them, which no one said at the time when they looked at their roster, and they got to go over the cap with LTIR. What's your opinion of the Vegas situation? I personally like how aggressive they are as an organization. They put it all on the line to win.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with it. Like, you know, if my team's not winning, I don't care who the other 31 teams wins. You know, like if it's not the Rangers, who cares who wins? That's how I am. So, you know, as far as other fans go, I get where they're coming from, but like Tampa just did the same thing with their LTIR. Like teams do it, and if you can get around it, good for you. You know, I think other teams should try to take advantage of it if they can. You know, I think the Rangers right now are looking at a situation where they could re-sign Patrick Kane, keep him on LTIR, and then bring him back for playoffs. Like, why not if you can, you know? So as far as the whole Vegas thing goes, like, I'm all for it. I think it's awesome. And I actually know a lot of kids that I played with in junior and, you know, throughout my career that actually played youth hockey in Vegas, and they never really had an NHL team to root for. So I think it's super cool that this team came in there, and you know, it's something I've talked about that I actually heard PK Subban talk about, but it's so good for the league that the hockey team won the first championship in Vegas with all the teams coming there now. Like, you know, you see the Raiders there, and I think the Oakland A's are going there, and I'm sure an NBA team will be there soon. And the fact that the only team that was actually created there is the hockey team, and they were the first team to win a championship there, it makes Vegas a hockey town forever. And I think that's awesome. And, you know, I think that is what is so cool about growing the game is, you know, we've seen the success of the Coyotes, you know, a decade ago, going to the conference final back when, you know, Biz was there and Yandel and all those guys. Martin Hansel's a name that comes to mind. Ray Whitney's a name that comes to mind. And you see Austin Matthews come from that, right? Like a first overall pick at Arizona because of him growing up, going to Coyotes games. Like, we'll see in the next 20 to 30 years of number one overall pick come out of Las Vegas. Like, it's a guarantee. And that's just how hockey works, and that's how you spread it. That's how you grow it. So for me, I think the whole spectacle of being in Vegas, it was my first time there, actually. I've never been to Vegas in my life. So, you know, being there for the first time and having this kind of experience was, you know, truly unbelievable. Like, I had expectations, obviously, but, you know, the whole production really exceeded everything that I had imagined. And, you know, I watch all the pregame ceremonies or pregame skits, whatever you want to call it, their little show they do on TV. I watched it for the last 6 years, and being there in person, like, you know, I thought it was cringe when I first saw it on TV, but when you're there, it is so awesome. Like, they really do an unbelievable job. And even me, like, just being a, you know, neutral fan, like, I was so amped up for Vegas. Like, it was awesome. And in Florida did the same thing. Like, being in Florida, those fans were passionate too. So, you know, back to your original question, I just think everything Vegas has done, they've done it the right way, and they haven't cheated the system. You know, it's something that teams have done in the past. They didn't create something new. It's been done before. They're just doing it better. And, you know, I think it's awesome.
I do too. And I mean, they're kind of the anti-Coyotes now. I mean, the NHL, or specifically Gary Bettman, would relish the Coyotes being able to replicate something half similar to what Vegas has done in 6 years. So we'll see if they're going to maybe be able to make that work. That's, you know, still to be decided. Let's talk a little bit about your New York Rangers, though. Obviously disappointing, obviously wanted them to go further. They're a team stacked with talent, and they did go all in. I mean, they bring in Tarasenko, they bring in Patty Kane, guys with winning pedigrees, and it didn't work out. What, in your estimation, I guess we'll start with, went wrong this year?
I mean, I think it does all start from the top, and I don't want to put any blame on Gerard Gallant because I don't think it was all like his fault. But, you know, things were ugly back in like November, December. Gallant was being talked about being fired, you know, that long ago. So, you know, I don't think this team had the magic that they had last year, which is crazy because they had way more talent than they had last year. But sometimes you just need that feeling in the room, whatever it is, that belief system. And I know they had it this year, but, you know, obviously all the talent that they had, maybe there were too many playmakers and not enough just, you know, cohesive team play, for lack of a better term. But, like, you know, I'll still die on this hill. Like, if the Rangers find a way to score in overtime in game 3, who knows? Like they're up 2-0, pretty commanding game 1 and game 2 win in Jersey. They play a solid game 3 against the Devils at home. I don't think the Devils were that much better than them. And Dougie Hamilton scores that goal. It changes the whole series. So, I do think the Rangers could have went on and beaten Carolina in round 2. That would have been their second round matchup. And then who knows what would have happened in the conference final. But I don't think it's as ugly as everyone says. Like, obviously, the way they went out was terrible because they had a 2-0 lead going back on home ice. And the Devils were really good. Like, the storyline that I'm sticking with is, it's not like what happened to the Rangers. It's where were the Devils in the first 2 games of that series? Because the Devils we saw in games 3 through 7 was the Devils we saw all year long. So, it's just how playoff hockey works. And it's weird, right? Like, Toronto comes out and looks so good against Tampa and then can't figure it out against Florida. But like Toronto, you're telling me Toronto's on a better top to bottom team than Florida? Like, I think Toronto's better. Sometimes you just aren't able to put the pieces together in the time of need. So I don't know. I think it's a weird thing. I don't think the Rangers need to change so much. Do they need more team speed and maybe to be a little bit more in your face up front? Yeah. But I still believe in this core. And, I've seen teams now come back from seasons that are disappointing and win the whole thing. So we'll see.
You're absolutely right. And I mean, let's talk about your new coach, who I'm obviously familiar with. I'm obviously a diehard Capitals fan, and I didn't love particularly the last year and a bit of Laviolette, only because I think that he can be a little overcritical on young players and not let them play enough. And I just felt like he didn't give some of the young guys in Washington an opportunity to kind of take the reins a little more. However, I will say this. He's always played his style, and he did it to very large success without a cup, of course, in Nashville, where he's very aggressive with his D-core. He wants his defensemen jumping up in the play and almost acting like a fourth forward sometimes, and he plays an extremely aggressive forechecking style, which I think ultimately didn't work with the Caps because, let's just face it, our roster is starting to get old and very injured. I think, though, that his system with the defensemen you guys have will work wonders. I think Adam Fox is going to have a blast playing for this guy. I think Trouba's going to have a blast playing for this guy. And I think ultimately some of the young guys there are going to mature even more under this guy. What is your expectation under Peter Laviolette?
Well, I mean, he said all the right things today in his press conference. He was talking about giving Lafreniere and Kakko a shot in the top 6, but they got to earn it, right? He's not just going to give it to them. They got to earn the opportunity, which I believe they will do. As far as the names you dropped, like Adam Fox, to me, I think anyone can come in and coach that kid. Like, he's the most coachable player I've seen. And obviously I played with him growing up and stuff, and he's succeeded at every level. So I don't think any coach would have a hard time with Foxy. He's succeeded under David Quinn and under Gerard Gallant, who were apparently the 2 worst coaches. So good for him. But Trouba, I think Trouba will thrive for sure under a guy like Laviolette. Like, they both have that fiery personality. And, Laviolette's a guy that I'm still trying to understand, like, just the way the NHL is going in. I think we're seeing a lot of younger, fresher voices, but, obviously these last 2 coaches in the Cup final that we saw were somewhat more old school. Paul Maurice and Bruce Cassidy, who have been around for quite a while, not as long as Laviolette, but, I thought it might benefit the Rangers to go in a younger direction with, how old their team is. Like, they are, for the most part, a younger team, I would say. Like, they have some older players and like Kreider and Trouba and whatnot, but, I'd say to their core, they're a younger team, a younger talented team. So I'm still trying to figure out how I feel about Laviolette and how this group is going to respond, because, you can push buttons and motivate guys all you want, but at the end of the day, guys like Panarin and the flashier players like maybe a Kane, if he comes back, they're going to have to do it themselves, right? Like, you can get them to work hard and compete, but, I don't think Artemi Panarin's chipping the puck in and going and throwing bodies in the corner and getting it back. Like, if Laviolette can do that, amazing. But if Panarin doesn't respond to that, that's where I'm curious to see how Laviolette tries to push his buttons, because that's not the kind of player Panarin is, and maybe that's how Laviolette likes to coach. But not all guys respond to that. And I think that's the biggest thing too is, coaches in hockey can't coach all 23 guys that are skating the same way. You got to figure out a way to, coach each player the way they need to be coached. And I think that's something that hasn't been figured out here in New York the last couple of years. Like, obviously Lafreniere and Kakko aren't really third line guys, and Gallant was never able to figure out how to put them in the position to succeed, where hopefully Laviolette can do that. So, I think obviously his track record speaks for itself. Laviolette's had a lot of wins in this league, and I hope he can come in and establish that winning standard right away, which I think he can do. But for me, it's the when things are bad, how do the guys react to that personality that Laviolette has? And that's a mouthful to say a lot of times. But yeah, I have high expectations for him. I'm curious to see when things are bad, because that's when a true coach really, comes out and you see what they're all about.
I agree. And I'd liken it back to, when the Caps went through a rough stretch the year that we finally won. And, there was that whole fiasco where Ovechkin was late to a meeting and Trotz benched him. And I think that sent a message to everybody. Yeah. Like, you're benching the greatest goal scorer of all time. Everybody better get on board now. Yeah. He absolutely should have. And Ovi, to his credit, didn't make a big stink about it. He said, yeah, you're right, I'm wrong. And they went on and they did the thing. And I'm interested to see what Laviolette does in a situation like that, because there's a lot of star power in New York. Panarin may be the biggest one alongside that goaltender that you've got there who's pretty okay. I'm interested too, though, and you brought him up, and I want your thoughts on this. Lafreniere, I think people are being a little too panicky with this kid, because I understand he's a first overall pick. The expectations are immense on a first rounder, let alone a kid taken first. But everybody develops a little differently. I still see this kid becoming a dominant power forward. Yes, there are some things that concern me, sure. But overall, we are talking about a young 20-something-year-old kid who still has an awful lot of runway to get better. What's your opinion on Lafreniere?
I never give up on kids too early. I was a late bloomer myself. I didn't get decent at hockey till I was 17. And so I know how hard it is to truly find your game, and obviously not at the NHL level, but a guy like Lafreniere, I think thus far in his career, he hasn't necessarily had a reason to be hungry. Obviously you want to prove yourself as a first overall pick, but when you come in as a first overall pick and your team's winning games, you kind of have it easy. There's no pressure on you because you're that young rookie and you're the younger kid with less experience, and your team is getting to a conference final and your team is getting to the playoffs, and you have Patrick Kane, and you have Chris Kreider, and you have Vladimir Tarasenko. There's a lot of names there that Lafreniere didn't have to overshine, where, typically number one overall picks have to come in and be the guy, right? Who am I thinking of right now? I don't know why. Connor Bedard, he's going to have to come in and be the guy, in Chicago. It's all on him. Where Lafreniere didn't really fall into a situation like that. So, I think after last postseason's performance, this offseason, he's got a lot to prove. And, I don't think he's spent as much time in the gym as the Rangers would have liked him to. So I think this summer in the gym is huge for him, and he's got to come in hungrier than ever because he hasn't really had a reason to be until this year. So this is a prove it year for Lafreniere. And if it doesn't go well this year, I could see him being shipped out of here at some point, and he still hasn't signed his contract yet. So I'm curious to see what they're going to do there. But, as far as I'm concerned, I believe in Lafreniere. I think he's a great player. He's shown some great spurts throughout his first couple seasons in the NHL. And I don't give up on a player until they're at least 25, 26. So that's kind of when you enter your prime. So, prime example, obviously he's one of a kind, but Tage Thompson, he didn't really have the best start to his NHL career. And then, all of a sudden he explodes out in Buffalo. So I'm not saying Lafreniere is the same kind of player. They're two completely different players, but it goes to show you just how development works, right? It doesn't necessarily click right away, and it could take a player 4 to 5 years instead of 2 to 3 years. So, I have nothing but hope for Lafreniere, and he's also a great kid and great teammate. So I'm hoping the best for him and hoping he can find a way to make it work out in New York.
Yeah, I think he's a really talented kid, and I'm not worried about him at all. He's got a big frame. He's got a nose for the net. I think that he still has a very, very bright future on a really talented Rangers team. Final one on the Rangers, just your opinion of some of the shakeups there in the front office over the last couple of years. It's been, I don't want to call it tumultuous, but certainly ever changing. Now it feels like they're starting to come into a little bit more of a solid bit of ground here. What is your opinion so far of Chris Drury's work?
As far as I can say, Chris Drury's done everything he can to make this team better, and I think that's all you can ask for in a GM. To get Patrick Kane and Tarasenko for what we got him for, I know it didn't work out, but at the time, I don't think anyone's disagreeing with those moves. There were some Kane haters, but, I still think, it's Patrick Kane. I'm not upset about it. I'm not upset about it because he's one of my favorite players of all time. And to be able to watch him for, 20 plus games in a Rangers jersey was, something I'll never forget, win or lose. So that was awesome. And I think Drury, has been aggressive, like similar to what we were talking about with Vegas. He's not sitting back and just letting things play out because he understands that this city is not a very patient city. You want to win, you want to succeed right away. This city is starving for a championship. We haven't had one in over a decade, and that's across all sports. So, I think Drury's done everything in his power that he can to be successful and to have a strong team on the ice every single night. So, I have nothing bad to say about Chris Drury, and I love what he's done so far.
I love it. A ringing endorsement and thumbs up for cousin Chris. I love that. Thank you. If I ever chat to him this summer, I'll pass along that you're a fan of his work.
Is there?
He's a distant cousin of mine.
Yes.
Anyway, yes, he's a distant relative. Now, you led me perfectly into my next question here, mentioning the city starving for a championship. I want to ask you what your overall impression is right now of the New York sports scene, being such a New York kid yourself, a big fan of the Rangers. But you look overall, I think it's a pretty exciting time, championships aside, to be a New York sports fan. The Knicks feel more relevant than ever. Aaron Rodgers is a Jet. The Giants just had an incredible season that not a lot of people saw coming. The Rangers are fantastic. The Devils are jumping back up, if you want to count them as a New York area team. The Islanders are,
too.
The Islanders are still really good. They had a very up and down season. You look on the baseball side of things, the Mets might be the most disappointing team in North America right now, but they have a very exciting and brash owner spending money. And the Yankees are pretty okay. I mean, right now, in your lifetime, has there ever been more optimism as a New York sports fan overall than right now?
I think back to when I was like a younger kid and the Giants were winning Super Bowls with Eli and the Jets were going to those AFC championship games and the Yankees had won a World Series. Like, I'm not a big baseball or football guy. So like, I didn't really care so much as a kid. Like I'm all Rangers Knicks, like Rangers Knicks to me, like that's like my heart. I root for the Giants. I root for the Mets, but like, I ain't going to any parade if it happens. So like, I don't really care, but having the Knicks and Rangers in the playoffs at the same time, that was truly special for me. And, especially getting to go to the Garden, like there was that one weekend where I believe it was both teams hosting game 3 and game 4 nights in a row. So it was like Knicks Thursday, Rangers Friday, Knicks Saturday, Rangers Sunday, or maybe other way around. And, being in the city for that weekend was truly incredible. Like, even though the Rangers ended up losing both games, which sucked, the Knicks were able to get one. And, that was just the Garden buzz is just, there's nothing like it. And that's the beauty of New York, right? Like there's so few cities that have their sports stadiums right in the heart of the city. Like that was really cool about T-Mobile. Like you're walking the strip and you end up at T-Mobile. Like that was so cool. In Nashville, Bridgestone's right in the middle of Broadway. New York, MSG's right in the heart of the city. So like, you walk outside and 7th Ave is shut down with Rangers fans and Knicks fans. Like it's just people celebrating in the streets. And that's the beauty of New York. So for me, my personal lifetime, like this is definitely the most exciting time. And especially if the Knicks get Zion, that'd be pretty cool too. I know that's in conversation, but I remember all my buddies when I was a kid, like all my friends are Jets fans for the most part. So, when the Jets were going to those back-to-back AFC championship games, like that was a pretty cool time. I think I was in middle school or maybe early high school at that time. And now my Jets friends are back again with Aaron Rodgers and stuff. So it's definitely a fun time to be in New York. That's for sure. And we'll also have, those outdoor games at MetLife too, which would be pretty cool. Rangers, Islanders, Devils, Flyers, that one weekend in February. So a little bit of mix of football and hockey. But yeah, man, like New York just needs a championship. Someone's got to do it. Someone.
It's been so long. If memory serves, we're talking 09 Yankees were the last championship. I mean, you think back to that and it just kind of doesn't feel right that it's been that long that a New York team hasn't won. It's bizarre, but I think a championship for somebody is around the corner, and I think it might be the Rangers. I want to ask you about that. New York, it's such a historic place in terms of sports in general and entertainment in general. And the Garden's at the center of that. And that's where the Rangers reign. I remember back people talking about 1994 and how monumentous that was, a 50-year drought ending and Messier storming around. He owned the city. I mean, it was probably a really incredible time. If that were to happen, let's say next year or in the very near future, for somebody like yourself, what would it mean to you to see that happen?
So it's funny. I actually, I think I talked about this last summer on the Blue Crew, and kind of a ridiculous thing to say, but I know there's people out there who agree with me. Part of me doesn't want them to win, because once they do, it's like, then what? That's just the peak of my existence, So I kind of like having hope every year and kind of getting my heart broken, but when the day finally comes, a month later, I'm just going to be like, do I retire from my career now? What the hell am I supposed to do? It's a weird thing because, I'm sure you felt it as a Caps fan. It feels like it's kind of just never going to happen. And once it does, it's
God.
Incredible. But then how do you get back to that? It's funny to say, I imagine even the 1980s Islanders, when they win their fourth cup, it's like, all right, can we just have our summer? You know what I mean? It's got to get old at some point, right? So, I don't know. It's a weird thing as a fan. Obviously I cannot wait to see the day where there's a parade in New York City and the Rangers have the Stanley Cup, but I definitely would be lying if I said I wasn't afraid of what's to come after. Cause I think, we've seen one cup in the last 80 years. What else is there?
I understand. I'll
it's
say
a stupid
this.
thing, but it's just,
No, I know exactly what you mean. Trust me, as a Caps fan, wondering, they keep telling us we're going to win. Are we? Is it ever going to happen? And when they did, the biggest relief and what comes after, even if I never see the Caps as an example win again, what comes after is the memories, the relishing of it, the tattoos, all of it. That's what comes next is just remembering how unbelievable of a time that was and finally feeling, I don't know, we don't play on the teams, but validation. If you feel validation and you get to carry that around for the rest of your life. I mean, you can remember seeing at such a critical point of your life your favorite team winning. There's just nothing like it. I want to ask you as well just about being in New York, and obviously I mentioned it's an entertainment hub of the world. What's that like, being able to just go see basically any great show that comes through town? Springsteen, Billy Joel, the 1975 rock through there all the time now. What was that like growing up, just being like, I can go see anybody?
Well, it was much nicer when my parents were paying for tickets.
Yeah, I bet.
Now when it's out of my own pocket, it's a little less, not less enjoyable, but you know what I mean? It's, they come a little bit less. But yeah, I mean, I grew up a huge Springsteen fan, so I saw him at UBS back in April, and that was incredible. I think I'm actually going again at MetLife in end of August. So yeah, I'm a huge Springsteen guy. Seeing Billy Joel, obviously. Trying to think, I haven't really been to that many concerts, I feel lately. John Mayer, I think I saw at Jones Beach Theater a couple summers ago.
Nice.
I've never seen the 1975, but I am a fan. But yeah, I think it's somewhat you get a little spoiled here, and sometimes you do have to take a step back and just realize how incredible this city is. But it's funny to think, right? I actually had some friends over last year, and we were saying on a cold day, if you're not eating or drinking, what the hell are you doing in New York City? There's just nothing to do when it's cold here. You're not going to go out and go for a walk and go shopping. It's freezing. No one wants to be outside. So you're kind of stuck in your apartment. But I guess that's almost anywhere. I don't know. It's an interesting place, right? Seasonal depression's so real here. I now that it's nice out, I just feel like I have to be outside every day. As soon as we hang up, I'm just going for a 2-mile walk, probably just so I could feel like I was outside. But yeah, this city is incredible, obviously. And, it's weird. I grew up on Long Island. So I was like 30 minutes away from the city, and I never really felt like I loved it so much until I actually lived here. The city was kind of always a lot, and it was always fun, but I never wanted to be around it 24/7 because it was just like never peaceful. And, once you, I guess, make it a home here, it's a little bit different. So yeah, this city is unbelievable. And, I've had the pleasure of going to a lot of different cities, and I got to be honest, it's probably a little cliche, but there definitely is nothing like New York City.
Yeah, I agree. I haven't been there in a long time, but it is a very incredible place, an overwhelming place, a very cool place, a very fun place to hang out and do stuff. But man, it's you're right. There really is nothing like New York City. It's just a whole different animal. They call it the greatest city in the world for a reason, right? I'll leave that up to others to decide. Obviously, I'm Canadian. I love a lot of the cities here, but New York is a different animal. And so are you, Laz, man. You are such a busy guy. Again, congrats on all the NHL work. I thought you did a fantastic job. I've been watching you for a while now. The podcast is great. Check out the Blue Crew pod. Obviously writing for the Hockey News, which we love up here. And man, I want to catch hopefully tune into some UMass games next year and catch you on the mic, man. That's my forte. So from one broadcaster to another, hope it's a good season at UMass next year and that you keep enjoying it, man. Seriously, I mean, we just met. I'm incredibly proud of all the stuff that you're doing, man. This is really great. Us young broadcasters, we got to stick together,
Oh yeah. Thanks, Ryan. And that's the one thing too, like, I'm we take care of our own kind of guy. Like I'll try to be in as many people's corners as I can. Like, that's what hockey's done for me. Like everyone that I've met in my time has been nothing but good to me in this game. And that's all I want to do is, try to help people that have helped me. And, I think that's what it's really all about in hockey. And, obviously, I've been a little bit fortunate in the opportunities I've gotten, but, something I truly try to stay true to my core is, knowing that, 2 years ago, I was just a kid in my, parents' bedroom trying to get a guest on my podcast. And like, I understand the grind. And, I never want to forget that because there was definitely some times where like, I think everyone goes through it, right? Like we sacrifice a lot trying to work in sports and do something that we love because, maybe the hours aren't great and the pay isn't as good, but there's no better rush than like being on the mic talking about hockey, right? Like it's truly just a different feeling. And, I wish everyone could have that feeling of, truly just like doing something you love. And, I think it's pretty cool that a lot of people our age, have started to go for it because I think we are in a time where, the payoff is more likely than unlikely if you put yourself out there. So, I feel like I've gotten off point here, but, this whole experience has definitely been a very humbling experience for me. And, I try to channel where I was a year and a half ago or 2 years ago. And, I was up all night getting no sleep, thinking about if doing this was going to ever pay off, so, it truly has been an emotional, couple months for me and something that I'm not taking for granted at all. Yeah, man, like Ryan, I appreciate you having me on here and, I can't wait to do something with you in person, maybe have some beers in person, hopefully sooner than later. But yeah, like the hockey world is awesome. And, it's truly been a blast and I can't wait to keep going and see what's next.
Dude, I appreciate it. And man, it sounded like you stole my journal or something, like you were reading from my personal diary. I completely relate, but look at us, man. We're doing some great things. I feel the same way with my opportunities. I mean, hey, I'm working in the best junior hockey league in the world. I mean, it doesn't get much better than the OHL, and you're doing great things as well. And now you got a friend up in Canada and you got a fan up here too, my friend. And I hope the viewers and the listeners, follow Jonny on social media. He's an easy guy to find because he's so busy. And man, we really appreciate you doing this and we'd love to have you back.
Yeah, anytime. I wish Clarky would show up though.
Yeah, Clarky. I'm gonna make sure that he hears that. Yeah, he's a busy guy too. We'll let him slide this time. If Clarky was on here, he would ask you 19 questions about the Leafs and one about the Rangers. I wanted to make it a little more personal for you. So
okay, fair enough.
I digress.
Healthy scratch.
Yes, we're gonna put him down as a healthy scratch. Jonny Lazarus, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back to wrap things up here on Instigating. Back to wrap things up here on Instigating with Clarky and Dre. Thanks to our friends Ian Doig of the Ian Doig Golf Academy and our buddy Jonny Lazarus. Jonny will absolutely be back on the show soon. What a beauty. He's having a lot of success. Very happy for that guy, and he's a really good dude. So he's definitely going to be back on the show. Obviously, not very happy with what we saw at the U.S. Open, as Doigy said. Not a very good demo there. And Clarky, I mean, it's, I don't know. I just hope that they don't go back there.
No, I don't either. I think there's many better golf courses that you can drive the ball better and have maybe potential problems when you drive the ball. Demos, drives. Hey, Larry Hudson's has a demo sale on right now, so you can drive away in a truck. You can drive away in a truck, up to $7,000 off, 0.99% financing. They're moving fast. So if you want to get a demo truck, come in right now. Larry Hudson's, the 23 dealer demonstrators sale is on now. There's lots of colors to choose from. It's not like a year ago when you had to come in and say, I want a blue truck or I want a red truck. Well, all we have is black. Do you want a black truck? Yeah, okay, I'll take it. You have a choice right now. There's lots of different colors of trucks. So come on over to 1000 Wallace Avenue North in Listowel, or give us a call at 1-800-350-3325, LarryHudson.com. Ask for your sales rep. If you don't have one, you can ask for Clarky. There you go. Ryan, we got to get you in a truck.
I love it. Yeah, well, I'll think about it someday. You know, I grew up driving trucks, right? So I mean, it might be calling me. It might be my calling here. You know, when I'm done with my current car, I might have to get back up above ground a little higher. You never know.
I feel good about today's show. It was a good show, and we've made an amendment to our rules for our golf picks. So we're going to see how that goes moving forward. You got to be rewarded.
Watch, you'll never win again now. Yeah, it was your amendment, and you'll never win again.
I'll be fine with it because the rules are now in place that makes it a little more fair. Because
you're used to watching losing, right? So you're used to watching losing. So I'm sorry. I don't know why I did that to you. That was uncalled for. It was uncalled for. You know what's not uncalled for? What Clarky just mentioned. Our friends over at Larry Hudson's. Go visit them. We appreciate them and their belief in this show, and we appreciate our friends over at the Listowel Squash Courts as well. Make sure you visit them if you want to get active in the Listowel area. It's easy to sign up. Our buddy Alan will take care of you, just like our friends at Larry Hudson's will take care of you and all your automotive needs. You can watch this show Friday nights at 8, Sunday nights at 9 for your entertainment needs when it comes to sports. That's where you can find us. That's channel 6 for Whiteman subscribers. We debut on our YouTube channel Friday nights at 9. Remember, you can find us on all the best podcast apps, and you can follow us on social media at Instigating Pod. I'm Ryan Drury. That's Clarky. Thanks to producer Adam, Jonny Lazarus, Ian Doig. We will be back next week with more Instigating.
Promise.